I thought it might be kind of a neat idea. I don't know how many of you, actually, first of all, I'm going to give you a few parameters. I'm going to try not muting anybody and see if we can be nice and not over-talk each other. Probably we can. The other thing is that if you're looking for the exits, they're over here, and the restrooms are over there. In case you have to use one of the facilities. Okay, so what I thought we would do, have any of you have any of you not been able to get into the gallery to see the show? We can do these.
So far me. I'm coming tomorrow anyway.
Okay. And Dick?
Yeah, I haven't gotten in there yet myself, but
Okay.
I fully intend.
All right. Well, I have, I'm not sure how many of you are versed in using Zoom, but I've taken images that all of you have put into the show, and I've got them sitting in my bridge thing so I can bring things up while we're talking. But I thought what would be nice, because I know that Deb and Mike have been in the gallery and we're excited about partaking in this thing. So I'm gonna ask them to go first and ask. Maybe you could give us just an overall interpretation that you feel of what the gallery looks like, and maybe talk about one of your pieces.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, first off, I always love the black and white show because black and white is one of my favorite things. I thought the show was fabulous because of all the variety, all the different ways that black and white was used. And I have questions for specific people. I also liked a lot of the color work too, and a lot of the macro work that was done. There was an awful lot of good stuff there. So I just didn't like the idea that we weren't going to be able to talk to each other about our work, because I love doing that when I go there. So the piece that he popped up there, I called it Song of the Sky, and it's from Utah, and we were on our way out of Zion, and we pulled over to take some pictures in this area, and I'm always packing two cameras, my IR camera and my color camera. And boy, did I hit it right with this. The cloud just came down. It was at such an angle. And then with all the lines that were coming in from all the rocks and that tree coming up, boy, and that little shrub over there, it was one of those little gifts that sometimes you're given. So that's one of my best shots from Utah, I thought.
You said you might have a question for some people. I know you looked at it.
Okay, here's my quick questions.
The reason I asked Deb to go first is she actually took notes like a good student.
I did.
And looked at your work, so we'll see what kind of feedback she gives us.
Yeah, I wanted to know, Michael, the Himalayan Himalayan grandeur. How did you get the shot? Was it from a drone, a plane? Were you up high enough? I'm just curious as to where that was taken from. That's a gorgeous shot.
I think you're talking about my picture.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
called
yeah.
him. Oh, okay. No, that was taken in Ladakh, and that was not from a drone, but I was standing across the lake from the huge mountain in that video. But it's taken with a telephoto, I think at 200 millimeters. That's why you get that compression in that picture.
Very nice.
All right. I'm also curious how people make their conversions. I'm working with an IR camera. It's kind of done for me, although I got to mess with them a lot. But how do you make your conversions?
Do one of you black and white photographer folks want to explain how you convert from color to black and white?
I do all mine in Lightroom. I don't use any other piece of software.
Okay.
In Lightroom, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. There is something called, they're called LUTs, L-U-T-S. And if you're looking at Lightroom, you'll find them on the right-hand side in the development section.
Okay.
So I have downloaded different black and white LUTs from different photographers that make them.
Oh.
So that's where I start. I go through and see which one I like the best.
Right.
I change it to that, and then I start playing individually with the image and making changes and stuff like that.
Okay.
Interesting.
Now, anybody else have any suggestions of how they do their conversions?
Well, I use a program called Silver FX Pro.
Okay.
And it's from the Nick collection in DxO.
Oh, yeah. I'm familiar with Nick, but I haven't downloaded anything.
Now, what I do first is, and I think I explained this in my artist statement, is I get the best looking color photo I can get. I post-process it until I really like it. Then I bring it into Silver FX Pro, and it's got like 30 or 40 different presets in there. And I just pick the one of those that I like the best. I really don't do a whole lot of editing or post-processing in Silver FX because they've got so many presets in there, you're bound to find one you like.
Ah.
Michael, while we're doing that, this is one of yours that you took that wasn't talked about in the videos you took, but maybe you could talk about this one for a second because I think you did a great job with this one.
Yeah, that's the somewhat famous Dark Hedges. It's about an hour's drive north of Belfast, Northern Ireland. And if you're a fan of Game of Thrones, they do a lot of filming in this area. It's the King's Road in Game of Thrones.
I think I see the dragon up there in the left there.
Possibly. Well, what you don't see in the middle is a big white truck I had to take out of there digitally, who refused to move for me. So I just fiddled around with him until I got him out of there. If you look real carefully, the driver is still there, but he's way back in the distance. It's hard to see. So
Hardly interesting.
But what really I liked this was how the light was reflecting off of the tree branches and tree trunks.
There he is.
There he is.
Yeah, there he is, way back there. Yeah. Yeah. So you got to hunt to find him. So I figured he's okay. No one's going to see him. But I was really entranced by how the light was reflecting off of the branches.
Oh,
Very effective. It's very good.
Yeah, beautiful.
I did have one more question I have a bunch, but I'll just ask one more. Tom Credo, where is the Dark Woods?
Okay, so that's Ontario County Parkway.
Ooh,
Okay.
I love that shot. Dang.
Yeah, that's actually, let's see. It's on the north side. What's that road that goes through Clifton Springs off the expressway? 90, is that 96?
96.
96.
So it's to the north of that, not the south. South of that is just a straight shot. It's not.
Okay.
I mean, there's some interesting parts, but it's not as dense of woods.
Right.
North of that, the woods get pretty dense up there. And I added myself.
Oh, you said.
That's a composite, right? I mean, it's not. I didn't take myself at the same time.
Okay.
Wow, I love it.
Love it. Good.
Well, Michael Schumacher, why don't you go on some of yours later? Actually, I wanted to ask you about an image. Let me bring it up for a second. I'm not sure if this is the one that you talked about in your video or not. Let's see. There, right there.
Okay. I think that's the one I talked about.
Is it? Okay.
So I call this Frozen, obviously, because it's frozen. And, this was taken this year, January. So it's relatively cold, obviously. Was in a place called Great Gully Creek, which is near Cayuga Lake, near Aurora. So we like to go to Aurora. It's a nice little town. But on the way, there's a Great Gully, and it's a nice stream. There are two waterfalls. One you have to hike about a mile upstream. We couldn't really get to the upper waterfalls. It was too treacherous. But we found near the road, the stream, the frozen ice, the water flowing, and just I think it's a very abstract image, and I like the colors, the textures. And I like, a lot of people have done this, like a frozen leaf, a leaf frozen in the stream. and I just really liked, the textures, some of the cool colors, so also some warm colors, and it's really an abstract close up, and it was a fun day of hiking, and we really like hiking in the winter. That's really my favorite time to go out and just explore.
So you like 90 humid, huh?
No.
No.
The only, I like to run when it's 90 degrees. I did run today, which is a little bit crazy, but I'd rather photograph when it's cold. So,
Hey, so some people have trouble when they shoot winter things or sandy things of the snow or sand coming out gray because your camera will try to find a mid-tone gray.
Right.
So how do you avoid that?
Well, I take a shot. I do. It's a Nikon camera, matrix metering. I think I look at the histogram. I think everything's sort of towards the middle because there's really some dark and light stuff here, and then so it's a raw image. I used Luminar. I did a global adjustments, exported it to Photoshop. And then I did our favorite tool is dodge, burn, and saturate. So that's what I use. So that's, they're all in the same area. And I think I just, dodged, the white area on top a little bit, maybe a little bit on the left. I think I saturated the leaf a little bit. So really not a whole lot.
Yeah, but let me just say, he is a real technician. He's still shooting with film very often. So his shots are almost always, it doesn't matter the conditions. He's got a really well-balanced shot.
One of the tricks that some people use is when they shoot snow or bright sand, is they overexpose by a stop.
Right.
Before they shoot. I was wondering if you did that, but it sounds like you did yours.
No, I didn't. I think I wasn't really thinking about it. Just really I was focusing on the leaf.
I'm just going to suggest, Don, that people click on the chat button down at the bottom. We have a little chat going on over there. If you want to see what we're talking about in the chat room, Nick and I are talking.
Okay.
I see that. You guys are sneaking off in the corner.
Yeah, we're off at the corner having a little conversation.
The guys that sit in the back of the room and shoot things at people. I was going to ask, who was I going to go to next? Nick, is he still here?
Yeah.
You got two Nicks.
Nick, I want to show you a picture because somebody came in the gallery the other day when I was working there, and they had an interesting comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a good comment.
Yeah.
He looked at, sometimes when you look at a single image, it's different than looking at a whole bunch of images. This is one of Nick's taken in China.
Correct.
And so what he said when I look at all these terraces at the same time, he said it kind of looks like one of those wavy signals you get on your TV once in a while when you kind of lose your orientation because the lines are so defined in an area that doesn't have or shouldn't have by nature lines in them, which I thought was an interesting comment.
It is an interesting comment. This area is, and these pictures are really all defined by lines because they're flooded rice paddies. In June, that's what they do. There's a lake that is higher in altitude than all of these mountaintops of this region, and that's how they fill them with water. And that's what they do in June. And so we were there in June, and it was a singularly gray day. So the color pictures are very flat. But regardless, all this water reflects the light, and that's what defines the lines in all of the pictures, other than this very one where it's the rice paddy construction itself that reflects the line.
So you're saying that the water is actually higher
Yes.
than all of these hills, and when the water recedes, it leaves deposits in these ledges?
Correct, yes. So all of these are filled with water from a lake that is behind you, if you will. But anyway, higher in altitude.
That's interesting. But humans cut these ledges, correct?
That is correct, and that began hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, very nice. And Tom, I had one of yours that I picked out to show, and I don't know if see if I can find the one I was talking about. Yeah, this one. I really like this shot a lot. Actually, let's shoot it as a second as soon as I get to a point where I can share it. There we go. This picture I thought was kind of cool, eerie. But that's not the one you were talking about before, right?
No.
No. I think this is the blacks in the corners are so dark, and the fog is, and the car lights are so light, and you have a really wide range of blacks and whites in this photo, and the way the lines in the road come out of that. It's just we've been watching a strange movie on TV, and this looks like it could be one of the scenes from that movie.
Oh God, this is the Spanish murder series.
No.
And I like I try to make it as intense. It was a foggy day, and I was on the passenger side just shooting out the window just to do something.
But you also turned it into a pan rather than 2x3.
That happens a lot with my work. So I do something and I shoot it with the aspect ratio that I shot with, and then it sits and I look at it for a long time, and then eventually decide it doesn't work.
Yeah, the image that you want appears.
In that case, it was all pan at this point.
It's really nice.
There is another picture, I think, in the gallery next to this one of the railroad.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. I want to bring up for Don.
No, go ahead. Which one? I don't have that one.
Oh, you don't? Okay. So,
I don't have all the images of each person.
So it's yeah, there's a railroad behind my house, maybe 100 yards away. I live close to the railroad tracks. So I go down there every so often just to shoot, although I shouldn't, right? But in this case, it was foggy. I had something like around a 900 millimeter. So I was shooting way down the tracks. And I shot that. It was that indistinct because it was such a foggy day. But the two lights for the railroad locomotive I added. It wasn't that interesting about it.
Okay. Let's see. Hang on one second. I want to think. I want to pull up a photo for a minute. I think this is the right one. David, is this yours?
No, that's
No.
That's mine. Son.
Oh, thanks. I forgot whose this was. So your name's not in the title, so. And Dave, yours were all architectural.
Most of them were, yeah.
So talk about this for a second, would you, Bob?
Sure. This one, I just sort of more or less happened to stumble upon. It's by the Cobsole Reservoir. I was running around the reservoir, and I always had my camera with me in the car. And when I was done, I'm walking back to the car, and the light, very luckily, just happened to be, it was much later in the afternoon, the light just happened to be absolutely perfect. I grabbed my camera, took several shots of this tree, or the trunk of the tree, which the motion of it just I found extraordinarily interesting. And the dark foliage behind it, which is somewhat photoshopped with Nick Volter's Silver Effects Pro to darken it and bring out the lighter trunks. And again, it was just fortunate that the light, the setting sun, just highlighted these very fluid-looking trunks just beautifully.
It's a beautiful image.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really nice.
There's a wide range of from whites to blacks. I don't think there's anything blown out. There might be something in the dark shadows, but that doesn't really matter. Like you mentioned, the movement in this photo is really nice. Really nice.
Thank you.
So, Bob, I think you've shown in the gallery only a couple of times, and this is
That is correct.
Yeah. So Bob is one of the people that we discovered in our Image City Critiques group, and it's kind of fun when you come across somebody who thinks that they're just an average photographer, and when you start looking at their work, you say, you know what, you've got some skill. You're not an average photographer. You've got some good things in you. So I appreciate that. I'll show you the one that I was thinking of David's, because of all of his architectural ones, especially the one that got written up, this one here I think was pretty cool. And maybe he can talk about this for a minute.
The story of my life, what I focus on, doesn't go very far. This is an interesting one for me because it's been around for a couple of years now in color. And it never really occurred to me until I got an invitation to participate in the Black and White Invitational to look at a few things in black and white that I hadn't looked at before. And I looked at this in black and white in a number of different ways, and it looks entirely different, and you focus on entirely different things by the conversion and getting rid of the colors. And in color, the sunset takes predominance, but in black and white, the rocks and the formations and the angles and the lines and the variation in tones, it caught me off guard, and I just really liked it. So it got included in the show.
Thank you. Yeah, that's one of the things I found about black and white too. Sometimes, I don't know about the color version of this one, but sometimes color gets in the way. And when you get the color out of the way, you see something totally different. This was probably, really, really nice in color as well. But for me, black and white is all about texture and shape and form. And that's what comes out of this. It yells at you like that. It's really nice.
Thank you.
Really beautiful. Good light. They're really stunning. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to show you one of Dick. Dick Thomas was not in the black and white show as a black and white photographer, but he was one of our panelists, and I'll show you one of his because Dick does such a good job with these things.
And Dick is muted. Dick, you might want to unmute if you're going to speak.
And he didn't hear the nice things I said about it, did he?
I think he heard what you said. You couldn't hear what he said.
So Dick, unmute yourself and talk to us about this.
You're still muted, Dick. Find the microphone down the bottom right.
Maybe I can unmute him.
Yeah, can you do it, Don? There you go. He got it.
You got it. You got it.
Yeah, I live far enough out that we have a very poor internet connection, and we don't do very well with Zoom calls out here in Caledonia. So I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
We can hear you just
Yes,
fine.
no problem.
Okay. Good. So you want me to discuss the picture you have up there, Dan?
Yeah, please. Yep. Oh, here we said you were doing good,
Are you?
And I tend to fade in and out of the meeting, so I'll try to discuss this fast. Can you folks hear me again?
yes. Dick, just while you're talking, turn off your video, and it'll save bandwidth for audio.
Okay.
There you go.
See if I can turn up the video. Mm-hmm. Okay, can you hear me any better?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is a picture, of course, in Letchworth Park. I live a short distance from Letchworth, so I'm lucky enough to take a lot of pictures there, and it really is a grand place for landscape photography. And I've been there many times over all these years and captured the essence of the park. But the best times to photograph Letchworth is when you have, other than bright blue skies, you have passing storms and you have, dramatic sunrises or sunsets, and it usually means having some kind of cloud cover or mist down in the gorge. And I noticed that on the weather radar, we were going to get some passing thunderstorms this particular afternoon, and I drove over there, and it's a hit and miss, but this one turned out to be kind of a hit. And I was along the edge of what they call Great Bend when the storm broke, and a rainbow or partial rainbow formed that seemed to drop down into the gorge itself. So I'm always looking for these instances where I have some drama in my landscapes, and a good situation is when you have the dark skies of a passing storm, but you have sunlight coming in, and if you're lucky and you're at the right time of the day, you might capture a rainbow, and that's what happened here.
Looks like you played it well.
Yeah, beautiful.
Really nice.
It was kind of luck, but really I find a big part of my photography is paying attention to the weather and going out a lot when other people are coming in. So I get wet a lot too, so
It's good.
Yeah, well, it's worth it, I think.
yeah.
Very
Thank
nice.
you.
I'd like to see if I can switch for a second without leaving. Nagil was talking about one of his other pictures, but this one, can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. This was my favorite one that he did. Talk about this for a second, Nagil. I believe this is a drone shot, right?
Yes, this is a drone shot. I captured it in the Adirondack Mountains. But in this picture, I wanted to, rather than get the sky and the mountain line, I wanted to make it almost like an abstract out of the landscape. So you just see the textures of different trees and the boggy area with the meandrous river flowing through it. And I think this would be one of those examples where converting an image into black and white really helped, because there are actually many colors in the boggy area around the river, which could be distracting from the river itself, which was the main subject. So converting it into black and white and using those different saturation levels to my advantage to create different luminosities in the black and white image. That's what I tried to do here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I really like this a lot.
Is that with Silver FX?
No, this is done in Lightroom, entirely in Lightroom.
Oh, okay.
So tell me about flying a drone, because I don't think anybody else in this group flies a drone. How high are you? Not how high are you, but how high is your drone?
So FAA, which gives all the guidelines on how you can fly the drone, dictates you can fly up to 400 feet above the ground level. So this would, I can check it back into my metadata, but I would say this is around that limit, around 350 to 400 feet above the ground level.
It's really interesting. I don't know about the rest of you folks, but you're seeing a lot of movies and TV series now where you know that the footage was shot from a drone because there are angles and perceptions that we've never seen before.
Yes, I mean, getting that different perspective on any landscape that I go to, it's I think that has given me a lot of potential to get different kinds of compositions.
Yeah,
because in the traditional sense, I would just see the front of this river and then the trees in the background. I won't see really the shape it's taking unless I go to certain height, a mountain or something like that.
So what's the distance from the left to the right? How long is the river?
This is, that's hard for me to judge right now. But that was one of the object aims with this picture. I wanted to convey the length, how big a river is. So that's why I composed it such that it goes diagonally from one corner of the image and goes all the way to the other corner. But I would say this is maybe half a mile. That would be my wild guess, but yeah, don't hold me to that.
So when you're flying your drone, you have a monitor in front of you so you can see what your camera sees?
Right. So the camera on the drone, it connects to the screen I have. So sometimes I use my iPad, which is connected to kind of a joystick, which I mean, you may have seen a joystick similar to this with that comes with Xbox or PlayStation. So that has a long range antenna which communicates between the drone and the screen, and I can see what the drone sees. So that allows me to compose. And I mean, with the new drones, you get to change all the parameters of the camera. I mean, such as aperture, shutter speed, and everything. So it gives you a lot of freedom in that sense.
So do you shoot just stills, or you do videos as well?
I do videos, but I wouldn't call myself any expert in that field, because I would say that's completely a different ball game. Getting that footage, getting that smooth transition between different frames, and having those smooth panning motions it's really difficult. I haven't really focused on that, but I have some friends that delve completely into that, and they have had many great success. So I try to learn from them.
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful shot. I kind of think that if I ever decided to do drone photography, I'd get stuck in it. That's the only thing I would do from that point on.
Thank you.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you all could come here and share stuff with us. Is there something that anybody would like to add?
Yeah, I'd like to add one more thing, because we're in the next show, but the show after that, I was thinking of showing some things that were photo gravure instead of just plain photographs. And so it was suggested to me that if I just showed you a couple things tonight, well, we had some people to look, you could decide whether it was an interesting thing to go in, or if I have plenty of photographs, so that isn't a problem. I didn't know if you wanted to try something different.
Wow.
Can you share one with us via Zoom?
Yeah, that's going to be my show, so I want to see this. I want to see what you're up to.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just, well, this is one of the most traditional ones. Now, if you can see that.
Yeah.
Put it a little closer there. Okay, so this is a photograph that's been exposed onto a plate. And then the plate, well, there's a process that's done. And then you print it, like an intaglio print.
So what's that material that's on?
Oh, this is handmade paper. This is paper that I made.
Cool.
Like, because here it is again on another piece of paper. No, you can't see.
Yeah,
back it up just a,
Lift it up higher.
lift it up and pull back a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so there it is on another piece of paper, the exact same image, but on a different piece of paper.
The image isn't printed on that paper, is that right? If the image is printed on something else and then you apply it to that paper?
No.
The image is printed on that paper.
Yeah.
So you have a press, right?
Yeah, I have a press. So, like, I'll show you the plate. The plate for that one, which you're not going to be able to see much, it's a metal plate, and it looks like this. And you can't really see the image because it's so fine. And you rub ink into it, and then there's a whole art form to rubbing it off. And then you run it through a press, and the image goes into the paper.
Cool. It's kind of like a screen print, almost, right?
Yeah, but it's more like an intaglio. Here's another one.
I have to look. How do you spell intaglio? I'm gonna have to look that up.
Intaglio. Intaglio. And so here's another one.
That's really cool, Deb. Will you actually put those in a frame, or will they be?
Oh my gosh, yes. No, they would be framed. And here's another one that's more even almost abstract.
I was going to say, because they do not absolutely have to be framed, we could actually use magnets to adhere them to the.
Oh no, I have frames for them.
Right.
And then I get really funky with them, and I do something. Oh, too much glare, huh?
Yeah, a little. Not bad.
Nice picture window though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, do
You
I
have
have
to
to?
tip it.
It's okay, Mike. Don't worry about it.
That's better.
So this one, you can see I've gone even further a little bit, and this one don't know if you can see this one, but let's see. Yeah, look, there's a lot of.
That's good. That's good.
That's good.
So that one I've used one more than once to get it. Oh boy.
So how do you? Okay, I'll gotta go back one step. How do you get the image onto that metal thing?
You get a plate. It has.
It's
It's photosensitive. It's got an emulsion on it. You make an exposure. That's real tricky. Then you put it into solution to the developer, and then you put it into then you fix it, and then that image hardens on there, and then comes the printing part.
I mean, you don't have a Photoshop app for it?
No.
a subroutine in Photoshop?
A little bit more involved in that. It's a lot dirtier too. But anyway, like I said, if you wanted to try something a little bit more different, if you wanted, just let me know if that's something you guys would be interested
Well,
in.
it fits with the it fits with the gallery's definition of what we display, which is based in photography. And
it all actually there are pieces of photography in it. It's photographic images.
I think it's great. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
I think it's super. We're always looking for something different in the gallery, and that's different. So
yeah. And I just learned how to do it before Christmas, and then I've just been producing the images, and then there's no place to show it because COVID-19. So I'm really anxious to get them out there and see what people think.
I'm looking forward to the artist talk video when I record that, Deb, so I get to say the word intaglio. I don't think I've ever gotten to use that word before.
Okay.
All right.
Carl, you just reminded me I was supposed to hit. I even wrote it down to hit the record button before I started this thing, and I didn't do it.
That's okay. I did it, Don. I've got it.
All right, Carl. I knew you'd do this, something like that. I even wrote myself a note and then turned the note over. Oh well. One thing I wanted to mention before we leave, I just want to make sure I get it in. I have come up with a schedule for drop-offs and pickups on July 12th. I'll email it to you. You don't need to write it down. I want to email it Sunday, so if you can try to hit those times to bring things in or pick things up, whichever end of that you're on. Deb and Michael, you guys are doing both, so you can do both at the time.
So Sunday would be the.
Michael?
Yes?
Saturday is fine.
Yeah, okay, but so we have pieces. Do we have to pick up our other pieces Sunday, though?
No, you can take them Saturday. You'll take them Saturday also.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So you can ignore my schedule.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. I'd just like to say we feel really lucky that we stumbled into your gallery one day, that we just happened upon it. And I've grown so much. I think both of us feel like we have since we've been in there. You always have fabulous people featured there, and each one of you are so wonderful. I feel like it's such a learning situation. So I'd just like to congratulate you for what you're doing with the gallery. And I really appreciate what you're trying to do now, even though it's so hard to do it. So thank you all.
Thank
for
you
all
very
your hard
much. Yeah,
work.
it's been
Very welcome.
This kind of a format with people after the show's been up for a while, you think it's worthwhile?
yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, sure.
Well, then we'll try it again when Steve's show is up, and it's going to be a little bit different because he'll have the main wall, so we're going to make him talk the most.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Don.
And Carl's going to edit the video, and we'll put it on our web page.
Okay.
Or a link on our web page, so that you guys can take a look at it after the fact.
Okay. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a good
Good job,
Happy
Don.
birthday, Nikhil.
Yeah, happy
Thank you.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.